So Weebo Hot Takes is going to take a changing direction. I don't know exactly how to describe this direction, but you'll see it, and you'll know it. It's happening.
I'm getting a live update.
Speaking of throwbacks to the 2016 election. No. Yes?
I want to hear now from Bubba Wallace himself.
He's Bubba Wallace.
Bubba Wallace.
Bubba, good evening to you.
Bubba Wallace. Woo! Are you guys ready for some spicy hot takes? Because, I know I am. The date is June 21st, when an African-American crew member of the National Association for Stock Car Auto Racing Team 43 discovers a garage pull on garage number 4. While garage pulls themselves are nothing to give much of a second glance about, this particular one was tied in a very particular knot shape that caused said crew member to give it a second glance. The apparent noose gave cause for said crew member in question to bring the garage pull to the attention of his immediate superior, crew chief Jerry Baxter, who thusly informed NASCAR Series Director Jay Fabian. I would just like to state for the record, had it been any other team, or perhaps an entirely different crew member, likely this knot would have gone relatively unnoticed for the duration of their stay at Garage 4. However, it just so happens that Garage Stall number 40 belonged to one Daryl Bubba Wallace Jr. of the Richard Petty Motorsports team. And it just so happens that said racer in question, Bubba, is the only black driver in the Cup Series. Bubba, who managed to get NASCAR to ban the presence of the Confederate flag from all NASCAR events going forward a mere 2 weeks prior to this incident, was informed by President Steve Phelps directly of the situation at hand. And so what happens? The incident's handling we can likely attribute to the recent racial tensions that have been built up within the United States since the tragic death of George Floyd. Because honestly, this was not the way to handle this. Before a full investigation could even begin to be launched into the origin of said news and maybe the intention behind it, NASCAR released this statement to the public. Late this afternoon, NASCAR was made aware that a noose was found in the garage stall of the 43 team. We are angry and outraged and cannot state strongly enough how seriously we take this heinous act. We have launched an immediate investigation and will do everything we can to identify the persons responsible and eliminate them from the sport. As we have stated unequivocally, there is no place for racism in NASCAR, and this act only strengthens our resolve to make the sport open and welcoming to all. Bubba Wallace followed NASCAR's lead by issuing his own statement, and that was followed by a show of support by LeBron James over on Twitter, as well as from his fellow racers on the track.
Richmond, are you in one? Okay, which two are going to get operation at one for on-track activity now? Let's take.
As for the investigation, the one that didn't get started before anyone actually issued a full-on statement, immediately the subject pool can be narrowed down to exclusively essential personnel, leaving a pool of roughly 900 to 2,500 suspects. This pool includes team members, NASCAR and track officials, safety crews, and a limited amount of media personnel. No one is above suspicion in the initiation of this hate crime. Although I'm not entirely sure what exactly you would charge a person with had they actually intended to tie a noose. Yeah. I'm having trouble wrapping my head around that. If someone in the comments could tell me exactly what it is that said person would have gotten in trouble for, I would love to know, because I genuinely have absolutely no idea. That Monday, the day after they found the news, no less than 15 FBI agents were deployed to Talladega Speedway to interview a number of individuals in an effort to determine if a federal crime had actually been committed, which I'm still trying to wrap my head around that one. They concluded that based on the evidence, the noose itself had been present since last October of 2019, well prior to when anyone could have any inclination that the only black NASCAR driver on the circuit would have been assigned to the garage space in question. And so while this is technically the outcome that everyone could have possibly hoped for, no one wins. everyone likening Bubba to the next Jussie Smollett figure are absolute sillyheads. Everyone who immediately jumped on that bandwagon that this was an irrefutable racial injustice and hate crime done unto Bubba Wallace are sillyheads. The NASCAR officials that jumped the gun with making a statement talking about heinous acts and eliminating individuals from a sport before actually launching an investigation or anything resembling an inquiry as to whether this warranted such aggressive language are sillyheads. The fact that this needed 15 FBI agents looking into it is absolutely ridiculous to me. But overall, and this is what my sentiments have been building to, I think this whole scenario has showcased how much exactly we are sensitive toward anything that can be remotely construed as quite possibly racist. Even something with the biggest inclination, maybe. Because at best, this was just someone tying a knot in a garage pole for convenience. And at worst, you can make the argument that this was just someone tying a noose to see if anyone noticed at any point and, we're gonna have an absolute fit about it. Because no one could have predicted that Bubba Wallace would have been in garage number 4 all those months ago in October of last year. No one knew until a week prior to the incident that he was going to be in here. And no one gave it a second thought. The fact that someone sees a specific knot, though, and their most immediate thought is racism, instead of, oh, that's just someone with a pretty morbid sense of humor, is mind-boggling to me. Maybe it's just because I'm desensitized. I have a more gallows humor take on the world. Dark humor is my main. Maybe that's why it is that this doesn't strike me as the, societally racial impending threat that everyone else sees it. But, hear me out. It's not like the hanging of individuals from something tall until dead is exclusively a Civil War, Jim Crow era racist United States phenomena, much less one that was enjoyed by exclusively Black Americans at any point in time. Oh no, in April of 2019, New Orleans saw fit to apologize itself for a vigilante mob lynching of 11 individuals who'd been accused of killing their city's police chief. And who were these victims? Italian Americans. In fact, hundreds of Italian Americans had been arrested in connection with said murder, with 19 being indicted. But did due process matter to the mob at all? Oh, hell no. A chief had died, and those pesky Italian immigrants were to blame, obviously. And so the March 1891 attack resulted in the deaths of 11 individuals, including a 14-year-old boy. The notion that a simple knot being in the vicinity, the possible vicinity, by the way, of a Black person at any point in time can somehow become synonymous with anti-Black prejudice in the current year boggles my mind. I'm having trouble drawing that connection. I'm sorry. I just am. I'm sorry. But a noose doesn't automatically make me think dead Black person. It just makes me think dead person. Is that just me? That some people look at certain symbols and ascribe them immediately as racist and nothing else without even a second thought is a miscarriage of education, of media, and of critical thought. I made an entire video for a Halloween special about the history and significance of the swastika and the 1,200 years of history that preceded said usage in Nazi Germany. And this is kind of in that same vein, almost. Here was my understanding of the civil rights era, right? I thought we were supposed to be growing beyond historical mistakes of our past, moving on, bridging that gap, that divide that separates us as people because of our skin color, which to me is just a ridiculous notion to begin with, but is made all the worse by the fact that we're not even trying at this point. Why have we satisfied ourselves with wallowing in our past for the rest of all of eternity? Answer me that. Why? Is it because it's convenient to this narrative that we happen to live in a white supremacist nation, supposedly? Oh, I'm sorry. No, white supremacist world. Is it because victim narratives happen to be extremely lucrative to the people who reap the benefits of them? I wonder, am I supposed to believe that we came all the way from, the shallows of the earth, from fish, all the way up to the current evolution that we're at right now, only to be stunted at this developmental level of your ancestors did this to my ancestors, and therefore we can never heal. Why can't we move on and live a better existence than our ancestors ever could have hoped for? We could forgive each other. Not forget, but in forgiving, we can finally grow from their mistakes.